We're here at the historic Livingston County Courthouse Museum, talking to Navy veteran Jimmy Rudd, who served in the USS Forrestal during the Vietnam War, and was on the flight deck during this catastrophic fire that took place on July 29th, 1967. And Jimmy, you were born in Livingston County?
I was born in a little house on the hill there.
Okay.
In Smithville.
Okay. In Smithville. And you went to school and
Right here.
right here in Smithville.
Yeah.
Did you graduate from
Livingston Center.
Okay. What year did you?
63.
Okay.
Joined the Navy January 64.
So you when you joined, where did you
My basic training was in San Diego, California. Got out of there and went to Memphis. Actually, there's a Navy base in Memphis.
huh,
To A school, jet school, jet mechanic. Yes.
okay.
Then after jet mechanic got out, went to Sixfield, Florida, to VA 46 Squadron, A4 Squadron.
Okay.
And the first ship we got on was the Shangri-La. That was in 65. And in 66, I was on Saratoga. And we made the Shangri-La, we made a med cruise on her. And then the next year made a med cruise on Saratoga. And 67, we went to the Forrestal. Her home base is in Norfolk, Virginia. Ours was in Cecil Field, Jacksonville, Florida.
Now, did you have the same duties everywhere? Did you have the same duties everywhere you went, or were you,
Yeah, we didn't answer to the ship's company. We were early.
okay? So you were
They called
attached.
me an early, not a black sheep.
So you were attached to the air unit,
Right, yeah.
okay.
So anywhere the air unit went, I went.
And you were A4 Staff Officer?
I was a A4 plane captain on the Shangri-La. My airplane was 511. I had to take care of her all the time. I had to put her to bed and wake her up every day. When I say put her to bed, you got 12 chains you got to put on her to tie down. When you're on the ship, she's liable to go any direction. So in the hangar bay, the blue shirts moved all the airplanes around, unless it was a big Phantom or bigger.
Yeah.
But all the A4s were pushed, hand pushed in the hangar bay.
Wow.
And when they run you out on the elevator, you better be able to hit the brakes, because if you don't hit the brakes, you're in the water. And we almost had one go over that.
When you were attached to the USS Forrestal,
Yeah.
that was quite different. I mean, from being in in Saratoga or
Mainly, I was a jet mechanic,
uh,
and I was the power plant is what I was actually assigned to.
Yeah.
But I got sent to flight deck because I was the mechanic representative up there.
Uh-huh.
Well, one of the chiefs, I think, retired or something, and they made me a final checker, which I had to make sure all the access doors and everything is all buttoned up. The fuel caps are all snapped down, because if they're not snapped down, they can't pressurize the fuel in the drop tanks to transfer it to the main fuel cell in the airplane. So the caps have to be sealed and or tight, or they can't do that.
did that take quite a while to do? I mean,
Well, you got to make sure that they all are down, and that's just before they go on the cabin.
okay.
The final checker to go over them, and you got to be moving with the airplane, probably, because most of the time they are moving.
Were you the only one doing that, or was it?
No, there was two in my squadron, or no, three more, two more, and they were all chiefs.
Yeah.
I'm the first. Uh, I was third class then, but they still made me a final checker because I knew all about it.
Yeah. Down the, so how long did you serve before you all ended up on the Forrestal?
Oh, let's see, 64, 65, 66, and then 3.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 3.5 years.
So, but the other ships that you were on, they weren't, I mean, they weren't like, Vietnam hadn't really, I guess, cranked up to where that they were.
Well, actually, it was about the same.
Okay.
Everything about the same. The Saratoga now
Nice.
was the next super carrier after the Forrestal. Her destination was USS 60
Okay.
instead of and the Forrestal was 59. But you could call them sister ships.
But when you were on these other ships, y'all weren't in Vietnam. You were.
No. We went to the Mediterranean. So 8-9 months in the Mediterranean. I've been to Spain, Italy, France, Greece, Turkey, a few over there.
So you got to travel around and
Oh, yeah.
see one of the things.
Oh, yes. With Turkey, no, Greece, went to Athens, and right when they had the wine festival over.
Huh. So how long had y'all been like off the coast of
Oh, Vietnam?
Vietnam?
5 days.
5 days when this happened. And okay.
Yeah.
So was there anything different about this mission that they were getting ready to, was?
Oh, it was a bridge, I think. It reached that wanted big bombs.
Yeah.
They wanted to try to take that bridge slam out. And that was the only difference between anything else.
Yeah.
But we had a launch right there early that morning.
Yeah.
And when it came back in, the Phantoms came in. The cannon plug on that zooming rocket. It's supposed to be undone. And the ordnance was, the flight deck crew was complaining about ordnance was taking too long to hook that up before they went to the catapult. Well, they said, well, what if we leave it hooked up? Okay, that's what happened.
Okay.
Static electricity when plane captain of the Phantom switched from external power to internal, just as soon as he made that switch, that rocket.
So,
If that cannon plug hadn't been hooked up, it wouldn't have been far.
and that ever happened before?
No. And I'm sure that cannon plug never is hooked up again.
Yeah.
Because that will set the thing off.
Mhm.
Plus, they've got a safety pin too. And the safety pin in the rocket, it was already pulled and everything.
So it was armed.
So it was hard, ready to go.
Well, do you want to go through and describe what happened, I mean, where you were at and everything on that day? And,
Well, that day, it was about normal because they made me a final checker a week before that.
yeah.
And I checked a few airplanes just before they go over catapult. That day it was hot. Everybody was writing their names on the bombs. One chief, he tied some ribbons to them, I think. And Dave Agnes was the line PO, and he came to me and said that Commander Starnes was complaining about his weight. And I went over there and started talking to him, and I was on the port side of the airplane talking to him or trying to make hand signals to him. And told him that he had 1,000-pound bombs on there instead of 500. And that made the difference in what he wanted to be shot at and what the actual weight was to be shot at. And just as soon as I turned around, the rocket hit the drop tank on the starboard side, which sort of shielded me from the actual blast, but it did blow me forward enough that I took a big step forward and caught myself and stood up. When I stood up, I was totally engulfed in fire right then. So I turned around, looked at the nose wheel, and here come that 1,000-pound bomb rolled up right beside the nose wheel of that A4. And I figured it was time to get out of the way. So I had to jump a tie down. If I hadn't had my goggles on, I was missed it. Wouldn't have been able to see it then.
You would have fallen down into the fuel.
I probably failed in fuel. Fuel was anywhere from a half inch to 6 inches deep there all of a sudden. And my britches just got soaked, and that's why they couldn't hardly even put them out. I breathed 2 or 3 breaths. I had my mouth shut, but through my nose, and I got burnt pretty far down in my nostrils. Because 3 weeks later, after in the hospital, I pulled scabs out of about 3 inches long out of each side of my nose.
What happened after that? After you?
After I took off running, I seen the chief with a big 50-pound CO2 bottle. He was running over Starnes' airplane and trying to cool that bomb down. And there were 2 or 3 guys around me trying to pull my britches down. And they burned off of my knees. And finally they had to just smother them. And by that time, that flight deck officer that told me to lay down, he got over after they put me out. He said, "Get the hell out of here." So I jumped up and took off running towards the island. As soon as I stepped inside the island, the sick bay right there, I opened the door and there the guy was sitting on the cot there reading a magazine. He looked at me and he said, "Good gosh almighty, come on, let's go." And just as soon as we got on the stairs, because it's right there beside us, and just as soon as we got on that and started down, that first bomb went off. And it shook me so bad I grabbed the chains, handrails, and all the skin on my hand slid down to my fingernails. And finally got down to sick bay, and I was the first one down there. And the doctor was in the operating room doing something, and Coleman opened the door, and that doctor looked at me, and I had a blood spot right here or something. I don't know how it got there. He said, "Check him, make sure he got no shrapnel in him." He said, "That blood spot was from something." They thought it was shrapnel, maybe it did. And went into the main ward there in sick bay, stripped me down, got all my clothes off, and everything but my wedding ring. Actually, you can still see a print of it.
Oh yeah, you
See?
yeah, yeah.
And they never did pull that off, or he didn't pull to them. So day you see me coming out of the fire, I'll be going middle of flight deck, laying down, 2 blue shirts, 3 try to push my britches out, and here you'll see me going towards the island where the corpsman is. I stayed in sick bay for about 5 hours, I think. And a lot of people was coming in. That's when my buddy standing over my shoulders there with a rocket head stuck in his shoulder.
And he survived.
And he survived that. Yeah, they finally got it out. But that was a live hanger, they really.
But you were conscious all the
I
was,
wouldn't pass. I didn't pass out or nothing.
you could hear the bomb blasts.
Oh God, yes. I felt it. It just shook that shit, just like wow. 8 of them went off on there. And finally, that was 8 within about, I'd say 4.5 minutes of the actual fire starting.
But I guess they did. You said something earlier about the risk in the. Is that how you
Yeah,
pronounce
the
it?
Risky.
Risky.
Yeah.
So they didn't know that they could blow up like that. I mean, they knew they
Yeah.
could cook off. And,
Well, 5.5 hours later, after they got the fire out, uh, one of the corpsmen asked me if I could walk flight deck, and I said, "Well, yeah." And he said, "Here, put these little cloth sandals on, or flip flops, or whatever you want to call them." And I walked out of the sick bay up to the hangar bay, and the flight deck elevators was right there. That came down. There was two more guys with me, I think, and we got on it, and they went to the flight deck. Here I was, had nothing on but a wedding ring. Then walked over. They said the helicopter's waiting for you right now. So we went over to the helicopter. I got in some way. I got in, and I couldn't lay down or I couldn't sit down, and I just tied myself in it's a cargo net type of rig,
yeah.
so I wouldn't lose my balance. And we took off with the risking then. That's when that flight deck chief or officer, I said, "Sir, I can walk." He said, "Like hell, you're going to get this basket." So I got the basket. I am on a helicopter, and they shoved this war basket in here. I told the lieutenant commander that I could walk, and he said, "No, you're not. You're going to get in this basket." So I got in the basket, and then they carried me over here to a bomb elevator, and down the sick bay I go. Then they took me off the risking over to the bomb elevator where they raise bombs to the flight deck all the time. They set me right in the middle of that thing, and down I went. Boy, it's fast. Got down to sick bay, not sick bay, but the the deck right below the hangar bay, and that's where sick bay was on the risky. And they carried me into the operating room again. There was 2 or 3 doctors in there, and they started cutting a little skin off my fingers and everything. My wedding ring came up. He says, I told him, I said, "Doc, you can go ahead and cut it off. You do cut it off." He said,
Yeah.
"Oh, this blister right here, this big blister." He says, "I'll just use that for lubrication." And it's right off. Gosh. But anyway, he got it off. I said, "Now," one of the corpsmen asked me, he said, "What are we going to do with this ring?" Corpsman said, "Wait a minute." He cuts a piece of rubber tubing about like that, ties it around my arm over here. Then they started wrapping me up. Got all wrapped up and put me in bed. Corporal asked, he said, "You something to drink?" I said, "Yeah." Well, he gives me apple juice. Oh man, it hit back up it came. And that's the only thing I never could drink was apple juice. I could drink orange juice, water, anything else, but not apple juice. Then the next day, I stayed on the risking that night. The next day, a big not Huey, but a Chinook helicopter came over, and I think it was 8 of us got on that thing, and they flew us to the report hospital ship. And I stayed on it 5 days. When they flew us off to the Da Nang that night, I stayed in the hospital there at Da Nang that night. Next day, I got on a big C-141 and flew all of Japan. Stayed in Japan, I think, 8 days. Then got back on the airplane again, left Friday morning, 10 o'clock, Japan, and flew to San Antonio, Texas. We got there at 9:30 Friday morning.
Wow.
So stayed in Texas, I think, 11 weeks.
So it's a specialized burn unit?
Yeah, it was the biggest burn. It's the best burn unit in the United States, San Antonio. I think there was one person died in 3 months that was in the burn ward.
Were there several of you, I mean, that were on the,
Me and Chief Page, we stayed together all the way through the whole ordeal until it got out of San Antonio. And Chief Page weighed 350 pounds. When I was in sick bay on the Oriskany, I had just got back in bed and I heard the awfulest commotion coming down the knee knockers in the hallway there. There was 8 men trying to carry him in a basket. They had dinner plates stuck on each side there, and his arms were laying on that, keep from falling off. And they was cussing up. See, when you go through a knee knocker, it's only about that wide. And the knee knocker is about this high. And when I say knee knocker, you got a washer, your shins get skin on that thing.
now what's a knee knocker?
Well, it's the opening of the door.
Okay, okay.
The bottom of that door right here.
Yeah.
And it's about 12, 14 inches off the deck there. That's so they can shut a door in that water tank.
Huh.
And there's a bunch of them on there. But anyway, I heard that commotion, him trying to carry him through and get him through the knee knocker. It was a lot of 4-letter words going on. But we stayed together all the way through the hospital ordeal.
How long were you?
He was, well, it was all together about 3.5 months. Yeah. His hand, he had a little 3rd degree on each side of his hands that had been skin grafted. And his whole back, that's where that jersey, that cotton jersey burnt, slam off of it.
But now you had, you in a roundabout way were directly responsible for them.
Oh yeah, they said that the people on the Forrestal was because of changing the garments or whatever they want to wear on the flight deck.
Yeah.
Because all of them over then was all cotton jerseys. And they went to a rayon situation after that. Because mine never did burn. So I was burned up here, but from here up, it wasn't burned. And over here wasn't burned.
Were all the people that checked planes that they had on that same
No.
rayon?
No.
Just you?
Just me.
Oh.
Because mine, it was a special jacket because it had a life vest sewed into it.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I ever got burnt or thrown over the side, all I had to do was just pull that chain and it got back to the floor.
So now, I mean, people that,
Oh,
they have that rayon on there.
They call rayon flight decks. Look, Forrestal, there was 134 got out killed, and I think there was only 60 or 70 that actually got put in the hospital.
Now, after you were got out of the hospital, what happened then?
Oh, I had to go back to the hospital a month later, and I stayed in Texas about 3 or 4 weeks. After I got out of the hospital, they sent me to Brownsville, Texas.
Okay.
And I stayed 3 weeks down there. But anyway, in the hospital, I took the test for 2nd class. Well, here comes part of the Navy when I went back to Texas after a month of vacation. He said, "You're out of uniform." I said, "What?" Because I had 3rd class stripes on. He said, "You made 2nd class."
Wow.
That's it. Oh, wait a minute now. I said, "You got to ship over." I said, "You got to have at least a year before you'll make 2nd class." I shipped over 11 months so I could make 2nd class. Which helped me out because they moved my trailer from Florida up here.
Wow. So now, did you, so you stayed in the Navy after that, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you
oh
were in the
yeah.
Navy for,
I went back to the squadron, the same squadron I was in, VA 46. And I got special duty for 6 months.
Yeah.
And then the 46 was changing over to A7s So you had to have over a year in the more left in the Navy to be left in the squadron. But I only had about 4 months left, and they sent me to VA 72, which is right at Cecil Field.
Okay.
And that's what I went on the Intrepid. I was in VA 72 then.
Yeah.
And I got out in December 72, and I was 69.
No, 60.
No, 68. Yeah. I was supposed to got out in January 68, but I got out in 60.
Yeah.
December 68. The Red Cross helped me get 60% disability, which helped out a lot.
Yeah.
And
Well, you would have a lot of problems, I guess,
oh
with your,
gosh,
with your legs.
they got so infected that when I did get back up here, the doctor said, well, you need some kind of disability. So
Yeah.
they sent it all in to the VA, and they finally gave me 60%. But I draw 60% for 30 years,
Yeah.
but I had to work.
Yeah.
Then I got my disability, full disability.
Yeah.
Because I was getting to where if the temperature went down very much, my hands just wouldn't down.
Mhm.
Then I got my full disability, and I've been on it ever since. Which is a lot difference between 80% and 100. 100%, you get everything paid for. Dental, eyeglasses, whatever.
Well, I mean, truthfully, everything you went through, you deserve.
Well, I'm still going through it.
Gosh, I can't imagine all the pain and everything.
Oh, yeah. They put you in the angel tank every day, clean you up. Well, that's when they was cutting that S-scar off my legs. And the S-scar measured 3 millimeters, which is an eighth of an inch thick. That's how much that burnt flesh was on the leg.
So that's what they call the burn.
Yeah, S-scar.
Huh.
When I got ready to get out, well, the corpsman, he grabbed me on the leg here and under my shoulder and lifted me up. Well, I slipped off, and bang, I hit the side of the tub there, and all that right there, all that skin, all here, popped over.
Huh.
He said, "Oh my God, that doctor killed me." I said, "Oh, wait a minute here." So I just took my fingers and pulled all that skin back together. And so I pressed it out. I said, "See, there's already." And I only had a little bitty seam right there. And
Huh.
it grew right back together.
Now, you said the angel tank. Is that
That's what they call it, because it looks like an angel.
Uh-huh.
If you can make one in the snow.
Huh.
The feet down here and your arms off stretched like that. Well, that's how big that tank is.
Is it like full of water?
Full of water.
Huh.
It takes about 400, dang near 350 to 400 gallons to put enough water in it for you to get it. And every patient, they do that. They have to scrub that tank down, every patient.
Huh.
Let it drain out, then they scrub it, wash all that down, then they fill it back up, then you're ready to go in the tank. And what it is your soaked. First thing they put on you, they put on me was sulfamylin. And the Germans in World War II is what came up with that. And it will kill any infection on you, whatever. You will not get infected. And you have to rub all that off. Well, my job was to rub it off my hands, because it's just like cold cream. And once it dries, you got to get all that off. They want you to scrub it. And you try to scrub raw hands.
Yeah.
You don't do much scrubbing. You just sort of pet it.
I can't imagine.
But anyway, after they got all of that off, the next thing they done was put sulfur salts on my legs, because they was the last thing to heal. And I was healing pretty good here. Anyway, they put sulfur salts on. Well, that got so bad after they got the burning so bad, after they got most of that escar off, they went to saline in saltwater. And it burnt too. That's when I took my pills. Yeah, they said, the one old boy said, now don't take your pills before you go to the tank. You know? I said, why? He said, man, that's when they work on it. He said, no, you don't want the pills. You want the pills afterwards. And he was right too, because when you got put back in the bed, here you are, you're wound up so tight that and you need something to calm you down. So that's when you took your Darvon.
Well, do you ever see any of the people that you served with anymore? I mean, back on the carriers?
No, I hadn't seen anybody since we got out of I got out of the Navy.
Yeah. John McCain, you didn't have, of course, he was an officer.
Oh,
So,
yeah, he was
so
fine.
you knew him, but I guess you kind of didn't know him.
Oh, he probably knew me, but we didn't really communicate. But
Yeah.
I've helped him strap himself into A4 about 4 or 5 times, probably.
Yeah.
And I forget what he was over in the squadron, but like Commander Moss, him and John McCain was buddy, and Commander Moss. So, and I seen him taxi over the side of Shangri-La one night. Come in and he gave her a little too much juice on the throttle. And when he pulled back, he was rolling pretty good and hit that port brake. Well, it'd been misty raining that night evening. And he hit the port brake, all it had done and just locked up right over the side of it.
Oh, wow.
But he was sitting in his little life raft before the ship even passed him up.
Well, let me ask you something. So, like whenever the planes were coming in, did you have to do something then too?
We got out of the way.
Okay. Okay.
But if my airplane came in, yeah, you stayed out of the way of that angle there.
Yeah.
Wasn't no way. We were up on the bow with a ladder and had 6 chains on it. And when the plane come in, they would taxi it up, and then one of the yellow shirts, or blue shirt rather, he would put a guiding bar in the nose wheel so he could guide the airplane. And they would taxi him around and tie him down up there on the bow of the ship until all the planes came in.
And so he was moving the guide bar.
Oh, yeah.
Planes.
Yeah, just move it around. But once it got almost in place, then they chopped it, chained it down, and you put your ladder up and they got the chains off your ladder, chain it down. But you put the ladder up also the pilot can get out of the cockpit.
You've had so much experience with that kind of thing. We want to thank you for coming and
Oh,
sharing all this with us, because it's really kind of a hero. I don't know how else to put it, really, but we thank you a lot.
oh, I want to say one thing about John McCain.
Yeah.
He did not start the fire on the Forrestal.
Good.
He got into the little fire. He got seized a little bit too.
Yeah, I saw it on the internet. There was some kind of a thing they were
Oh
saying.
yeah, there's stories. You probably got a couple on there, found some
Yeah.
that he didn't do that.
I guess his father being an admiral didn't help. A lot of times people
Oh yeah, they
kind of,
there's one story about him. He got on a helicopter and flew off, and then got an airplane and went to France.
yeah.
No, he didn't do that because they wouldn't let nobody ride a helicopter unless you burnt or sick or almost dead.
Yeah.
But he stayed on the ship for, I know, at least 8 to 10 hours after that.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, they've got me listed as missing in action for about 3 or 4 days.
Hmm.
There was a lot of newspaper clippings. I had a book about that too. of all the newspaper clippings in the United States. Oh, gosh, there was several of them in there. I'm missing in action.
No.
For one reason, they didn't know where I was.
Yeah. It's paperwork, it's kind
Yeah,
of.
paperwork. Because I was on there and I was gone, nobody seemed to could leave.
Yeah.
Didn't recognize me either, probably. With no clothes on.
We sure appreciate you coming involved with us. Safe again.
Yeah.